Hello my loves, I'm Ellie Frost. Thank you so much for being on my channel where we are talking about the multi-dimensional approach to rapidly and radically healing and transforming during and after narcissistic abuse. This video is about reclaiming yourself after narcissistic abuse. There's a lot in this, right? I spend a lot of time thinking about change, how people change, yeah? What I don't spend a lot of time thinking about is analysing the narcissist beyond the depth of information which I already do have. What I find in these cycles is that when you're with a narcissist, your whole life is about them. Yeah? You have to give up yourself to become what they need you to be. Part of it is they do completely fear you. There is a complete consciousness shift when you're in narcissistic abuse, which makes you not only engineer your life around them, walk on eggshells, be in the highs and lows of whether you're in a love bomb stage, whether you're on some kind of false sense of security, steady ground, or they've done something horrible and traumatic, or left you guessing, or in this cycle. So your whole life is about them, analysing them, thinking about them. Your whole emotional response is being controlled by them, to life, to how you feel about yourself, to what you think you get to do, be and have. They take over the whole thing. They take over everything. They'll take over family events. They'll take, by their emotional reaction, holidays, everything becomes all about them. The challenge with when you're healing is a lot of you, even if you've left them, are still making your lives all about them. It's part of the problem. It's part of the virus they've infected you with. But people learning about narcissists, obsessing about narcissists. They could literally, a lot of you, not necessarily here, but a lot of people that go through this, they could write a PhD, a thesis on narcissism, rather than be focused on getting on with their own lives. This is part of the issue. So the narcissist still owns you if you are obsessing over them. When will they get their karma? Why are they like this? How does narcissism come about? Now, these are good questions. I answer them for you. But there's an unhealthy balance still for a lot of people where they're still so preoccupied about the narcissist that they're not choosing themselves. Yeah? Someone wrote about, because I was talking about worthiness in the last video, and someone rightly wrote, no one deserves what they did to you. No one does deserve what they did to you, and it's your responsibility to heal. It's your responsibility. I had to accept that. There's a video I made on injustice trauma, because injustice trauma, the trauma of injustice of what you've been through, is a real thing. Sometimes we're so stuck in the injustice trauma that we stay stuck because we almost feel entitled for someone else to fix it, right? Because what's happened to us is so unfair. It is unfair. But until we really accept this was tragic and it's my responsibility to change it, we don't move. Yeah? We feel like it should be fixed for us. We look for another rescuer. We don't move because we're stuck in the injustice, right? It is unjust. So when I was healing, what I can tell you the most about is what I did. When I was healing, being in groups of people bashing narcs, comparing notes, talking about details, going on and on and on about that wasn't very helpful to me. It really wasn't. It actually helped me feel more depressed and hopeless. So I left them because I didn't need to hear about how bad it was. My life, I already knew, was terrible. I knew it was terrible. I knew it was pretty hopeless. I knew that my odds were against me in bigger ways than most of the people that were in the groups with me. Some of them anyway. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So it's easier for all of us to have that story, right? There's a reason why it's harder for you. There's a reason why it's stickier for you. Could be that you've got different responsibilities. Could be that you've got kids. There will always be a reason that we're telling ourselves that it's harder for us. It's just what humans do, because all you've got is your own experience, and it's kind of natural for us to compare ourselves, but it's not helpful if we don't compare ourselves in more helpful ways. So what I started doing is stop looking at all that. I stopped obsessing over the narcissist. Once I understood it, I already had a good understanding of it. It's very healing at the beginning when you go, this is what I'm dealing with, this is the pattern, now I get it, this validates me. But when you're then going further than that into really wanting to know all about them, I promise you, they've got you. They've got you. They've got you psychically. They want you obsessed with them in this world rather than obsessed with you. It's a fact. So what I started doing, because I needed something I could get my mind behind, enough evidence I get my mind behind that people get out of really terrible things. That's what I started feeding my mind with. Stories of people who had been through horrible accidents or very tough life situations and got through it to the other side. Not just survived it, but got through it and created good lives. I listened over and over again. I watched those movies. I found those evidences. I needed them, of people who had got through very hard things that seemed like things you couldn't get through, that had been through ordeals, that had been through tragedy, that had been through the unthinkable, the seemingly impossible. I fueled my mind with that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So my mind started thinking people can get through impossible things. Yeah, people can overcome the impossible, the unthinkable, right? The tragic. And with that, then I could, had it more easier for me to start believing that I could too. That's the thing. When we're dealing with something, one, we have to be brutally honest with ourselves sometimes that we're fucking stuck. Yeah? When we've been going through these cycles for a long time, or our lives aren't changing, or we're not really improving, we are stuck. But we've got to somehow do it different. I knew I had to radically change what I was doing. It seemed that I had very limited options on how that would be, because at the time when I didn't have a lot of money, some people, when they have those kind of moments, they'll go and try loads of different classes or travel and go on retreats. I couldn't do any of that. So I had to start with my mind. I have to think very differently. How am I seeing this? How am I seeing it? I'm seeing it that it's harder for me. I'm seeing it that people don't come out of this. I'm seeing it that it's too much work. I'm seeing it that I'm making a lot of assumptions. How hard it would be, what I was capable of, what it meant. And I was isolating myself even more in my thoughts. So I had to start feeding myself differently, right? On a soul level, on a mind level, on a heart level, and see where actually how I was approaching my healing was part of the virus of the narcissistic abuse. Because how I'd been approaching my healing to start with, after I understood what I was dealing with, was probably what a lot of people do, obsessing about narcissists. Hearing about them. There's a lot of anger in a lot of people teaching you about the narcissist, by the way, you'll feel it. Not a lot of inspiration and hope. They're not telling you to stay, but a lot of them, you can tell they're angry. The transmission of energy that we're receiving is important, right? So, there's some people that I do like that talk about it, but they're angry. And the narcissists that are talking about it, they love being in the limelight. They love you obsessed with them. That's part of being a narcissist. I'm not saying they haven't got good intentions, some of them, but we've got to choose ourselves. I talk on this channel about people. The biggest thing for me to be able to do this work, I've realised, is not to be, obviously it does rely on me being good at what I do, but even beyond that, I'm going to have to hold a belief in people and their power to transform so big that they can feel it. I've realised that's actually a lot of the work I need to do on myself right now. Because any frustration I have, because sometimes I do, I think, why aren't people jumping at this? This would be the thing that I would have bitten someone's arm off for, this work that I offer. Why aren't people moving? I mean, people are moving, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I just have this thing in me, you know, where I'm like, I want everyone to have a good life. I've got a mission in me, you know, like, I don't think you'll take that out of me. I've always had that, but now I've got it on this. And so it's like, it's something that keeps me up at night. It's in the middle of the night. I slept and then I woke up and then I was thinking about this and I was like, it's on my mind. It's on my mind because it's on my heart. It's on my mind and heart because I have an ability, I know, to move something with people that not everyone has got, not in the way I've got it. So, and I believe that's because I've obviously experienced it. I can do things fast with people and I can see through some of what is not intentionally necessarily keeping them stuck, but it still is. I know that there is a better way for so many of us, right? Every time I get stuck on this, I realise that I've got to start with how much do I believe in people and their power to choose change and to do it, yeah? How much do I believe in them? Luckily, I've had to believe in myself through the hardest times in life. So if I believe in myself being able to do that, do I believe anyone else can do that through difficult things that may look different to what I went through, may seem much harder to you because everything that we go through does seem harder to us because everything's relative. What is hard for one person is easy to another. Do I believe in that? Do I believe in people enough to think they can reclaim their power? Do I believe in people enough to think they'll choose themselves when they haven't their whole life and been taught not to? Do I believe in people that much? Do I believe in them? Because I actually do, but my biggest job is going to be to make sure my belief is so big. It's so big that people can feel it, that they can just literally feel it. I think that's what I've got to do the most. More in my energy, it's got to feel like you couldn't not believe in yourself if you came around me. That's my personal development, to be able to hold something so strong, so definite in people that you could feel it that way, you know? Because when you can't believe in yourself, which is normal after narcissistic abuse or anything you're not confident in, you need things to keep you believing in it, giving you enough evidence to make your mind. So you don't have to destroy your belief systems. For doubt to go away, all you have to do is create, for belief systems to sort of change, all you have to do is create doubt. All you have to do is create doubt. When you believe you can't do something, you can't heal, all you have to do is have enough doubt and the mind will start collapsing that belief system easily. That's all we need, is enough doubt that we can't change. Right? Enough question of it, enough evidence that you can, that you'll start believing it naturally because it's your truth. Everything in your soul wants to evolve, yeah? Everything sometimes in our minds wants to cling on to what we know because the mind does not like change. That's the challenge. And when we've been in these cycles, all we are is in our head. We're not in our bodies, we're not in our emotions, we're not in our spirit, we're not in our soul. We're all in our mind, thinking, analysing. That is where the narcissist keeps you, in a mental mind trap. And while you're still analysing them, obsessed with them, ruminating about them, you've got to come and break the spell. You've got to break the spell because the mental mind trap is exactly where they keep you. Why has this happened to me? Why do they do this to me? What are they going to do next? Why, blah, blah, learning about them. How do they think? This is part of the disease. Reclaim yourself. No, you've got to limit your amount of time thinking about them every day. You're only going to move when you know who you are enough and listen to what's inside of you. Your soul inside is screaming after this. But your soul's going to make you brave. Your soul doesn't give a shit about the limitations. It wants your life. It wants you to connect with you. You disconnect from soul in these cycles, right? You're not detached like a narcissist, but you disconnect. And that's your whole system to guide you through to live a fulfilled life. Only your soul knows what's right for you, you see. What would make me happy and someone else happy, two different things. We're different souls, different essence. So what gives me pleasure is different to someone else often. So our soul path is our fulfillment journey. It's not the same for everyone. We've all got a different reason we're on the planet. But your soul's probably screaming. And you're in your mind if you're not breaking out of this. The mind will just try and fix the immediate problem. It thinks it can. It thinks it can control and fix, but it can't. So it just stays stuck. And you stay in a mental mind trap until you come into your energy and break the pattern. If you want to join Sovereign, I'm going to close the door soon, but you can still. Lots of love, guys. I'll speak to you soon.